Welcome, friends. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Satsang, also called Dharma Talk, simply because so many don't know what Satsang is, so we title it Dharma Talk. But welcome to Satsang. Satsang is Sat, which is divine truth, the essential truth of our being, the most absolute, divine, pure truth of our being. That's Sat. Song, S-A-N-G, is Sangha, community, coming together. And satsang is the opportunity to come together as a collection of people who are interested in consciously exploring the reality beyond our mind stories and narratives and conditioning and programming. What is the reality of our being? And that's what we get to do here in satsang. We get to explore and reconnect with and remember and educate ourselves deeper as to what is the nature of our full dimensionality as human spiritual beings. What is the full dimensionality of the human spiritual being that we are? We tend to get so wrapped up in the human part of it, the identity of body and mind and the ego story, the personality, the personal self. We get so wrapped up in that and working with that and adjusting that and judging that and assessing the value of that and comparing that personal self to other personal selves, comparing all of our differences to make sure that our particular differences in our personality, our conditioning, our programming, our DNA, that's the personality dynamic, trying to make sure that it's acceptable, that it's lovable. We get so wrapped up in that we forget or never even attend to, never even point our awareness to the inquiry. Wait, who am I really? Beyond this temporary person, what is the essential nature of my being? And that's what we get to explore here in satsang and remember. The essential nature of our being. The peace, the stillness, the wholeness, the grace of our spiritual being, the formless nature of us that is inhabiting a temporary form of body, mind, and ego story. So thank you for being here in satsang. Please go ahead. I want to make sure all of the mechanisms are working here. I've got all the right buttons pushed. So if you're joining us, please go ahead and send in a quick chat so that I know that the chat is working and also that I know who's here. Who am I sitting with in this exploration? So take a moment and kindly share a quick chat. Who are you? Where are you? It gives me a little sense of that connection that I know I'm speaking with others who are present and engaged. Let me check something here. There we go. I need my glasses. Amanda in Tucson. Hi, Amanda. Good to have you join us. Beautiful. Yeah, you probably already know I Sedona was my home for 7 years. And when I moved here to Bali, I moved from Sedona. And I still have family that's in the southern Phoenix area. So good to have you join us. I miss the deserts. It's incessantly green here. It insists on being green always. And I kind of miss the deserts and the desert skies, that big open expanse you can get in the desert and get those big skies. And then you've got the monsoon seasons coming, which were my favorite time of year. So yeah, thank you for the reminder of how beautiful it is in Sedona or in Arizona. All right, let me see who else is here. Gary's joining us. Wonderful. And the chats are working. Perfect. Thank you, Gary. Good to see you. Who else is here? Ida is here. Wonderful. Sharon is here. Yes. Fantastic. Okay. So yes. So why do we take this time, right, to slow down and drop in? Because the truth is, we're mostly all lost in the what is called being lost in the content of experience. Lost in all the dynamics of what is going on around us and within us, and the narratives that the mind is telling about all of it. We are meaning-making machines. And we're just making up stories, narratives, judgments, opinions, assessments about just about everything. And all of those are typically coming from the ego body. The ego is the self that has been constructed from the mind. The ego is the self that is a construct of mind. Everything we've learned, I'm worthy, I'm unworthy, I'm like one of my constructs of ego that I've been dismantling and letting go of and finding freedom from. One of those constructs that I lived with for most of my life was, in order to be acceptable, I need to be exceptional. Everything in my childhood kind of helped to cement that narrative. And then in the world that I was living in, that further cemented that narrative. And then today, with even social media, that narrative is pretty ingrained in a lot of us. In order to be acceptable, I have to be exceptional. Any flaw in my character, in my personality, in my personal self needs to be addressed and fixed to near perfection so that I can feel okay again in the world. So most of us are lost in these narratives, and we forget, wait a minute, or never even knew. Who am I really? Prior to all of these mind-constructed narratives, even prior to my DNA, the personal self, the personality, prior to all that, beyond all that, is there an essential nature of my being that is actually what I'm seeking? If I am seeking peace, a sense of love, spaciousness, that is the nature of our being as consciousness itself. So we're going to break it down. We always break it down, take a look at all the different dynamics, because it takes time. It takes repetition. It takes hearing it again and again and again. And it's just like waking up from a deep, 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 deep dream. If you've been in a dream forever, right? You don't just kind of get some truth and get some awareness and go, oh, okay, I'm awake. No, you're going to be groggy. You're going to be like, it's like, it's like, it's like going somewhere you've never been before, going to sleep in the hotel, let's say, and then the next morning starting to wake up, and at first you have no idea where you are. It's all so unfamiliar that it takes a little while to orient yourself as you come out of your grogginess and realize where you really are. That's what waking up from the ego identity, from the story of self that the mind is telling. That's what it's like to start to wake up from that. We come to a reality that we perhaps never visited before, never known before, never experienced, or had the direct experience of. When it first starts to appear, it doesn't even make sense to us. It's so fantastical. It's like, wait, pure peace? I can't be pure peace because most of my life is trying to find peace, trying to stabilize in peace. How can I already be peace? That's not my experience. My experience is anxiety, uncertainty, questioning, highs, lows, bliss, suffering, the whole gamut of the human experience. So today, let's talk about the reality of the human experience and the reality of arrested grace. And when I use the word grace, I mean truth, arrested truth of being, unwavering, unchanging. This is often called the witness. It is the true self that can witness the peaceful consciousness of being that we are, temporarily inhabiting a form. That consciousness of being is always present, within which we have the human experience. So, to be at peace with ourselves, turn off my thing here. To be at peace with ourselves, with all of our dynamics, our flaws, our difficulties, our anxieties, our programmed thoughts, beliefs, reactions, our conditioning that we got from mom, dad, school, being bullied, growing up in a society that told us we have to be a certain way to fit in, to belong, to be okay. All of that conditioning, all of that programming. To be at peace with that and allow that so it can be loved. There goes my phone. So that it can be loved, accepted. To do that, we need to come into a rested knowing of the unwavering love and peace and awareness that is the nature of our being as consciousness. And that is the shared being. That's the part of us that is the same. That's the part of us that is the same. The oneness of consciousness that we all are, that you are, that I am. And when we forget that oneness of love, we get lost in the individuality and we start comparing our individuality with others' individuality. And we compare our individuality with what society says is acceptable or lovable or valuable. And we get so lost in all of that, we forget our divinity. And when we are disconnected from our divine truth, we will feel not enough. Sit with that for a second. When we're disconnected from our divine truth, from our wholeness of being, our pure love of consciousness, when we are disconnected from that, then we're lost in the narrative, we're lost in the conditioning, and we will feel not enough. So that's why we come to satsang, and why we follow this path of self-knowing. And to recognize everything that you are seeking is what you already are. It's kind of like lying in a bed dreaming and being in such a deep dream, you've never known the one laying in the bed dreaming. You've only known the dream. You've only known the dream of you, the stories of you, the illusion of separation, the individuality. You're more than that. Boundlessly more than that. Yeah. Okay. So we want to also allow for questions. We want to allow for you to explore where this makes sense, and then where it starts to get a little bit murky and like, wait, but what about this? What about my desires? What about my motivations? What about this sense of emptiness? What about the fact that when I really drop into a deep, deep peace, I feel like I'd never be motivated to ever do anything again in my life. So how am I going to feed myself and go to work and take care of my life? All of these questions about how do we navigate this awakening so that we can live in this, what I call a yes and experience. Of yes, oh yeah, well, there's my stuff. Ooh, there's an anxiety within me. That's part of my conditioning, part of my programming, maybe part of my DNA, maybe part of my personality. There it is arising. What do you mean be at peace with that? How can I be at peace with that? It doesn't feel peaceful. How can I be at peace with something that doesn't feel peaceful? But imagine being able to have that distance and that witnessing capacity and be able to say, oh, the essence of my being is always peace. Noticing this unpeaceful, this anxiousness of my humanity. Oh, I'm a human spiritual being. Yes, and. So questions around this. Let's talk. What would be valuable for you to explore? Hi, Dylan. I see you here. Gary, greetings. Ali, yes, it's about... Oh, this is Amanda. Yes, it's about 110 here today. That's Tucson. We chatted about the incessant green. I'm jealous. I'll trade for Bali. Yeah. And then here I am in Bali, and I'm thinking about moving back to the States. It's so different for all of us, and this is what's beautiful. We all get to have our human experience just as it is, and not have to compare it to anybody else's. Oh, what a freedom! What a blessing! So, Dylan asks, "Is Dharma too much? I feel a break. The only time I get is my sleep." Okay, good question. Is the Dharma too much? So Dharma, if that's and you can refine your question if you've got a different way of framing that. Hey, Dylan. So is our Dharma too much? Dharma is the path we walk to encounter our karma. Our karma is that which we have the opportunity to meet and learn from and evolve through. So one's karma, it's not all negative karma. Every experience that you have is a part of your karma. It's what you're here to experience. The question is, do you resist it? Or do you attach to it? Or do you have a judgment about it? Or do you fight it? Or do you cling to it? The freedom is to be able to walk our path, be in our Dharma, let it guide us to our karma, to each moment, let us guide us to each moment, and be with what is. What is what is happening just before your mind has a thought about it. What is what is happening just before your conditioned, programmed mind has a thought about it and tells a story about it. From the place of witnessing and peace and allowance, we encounter each moment as the stillness of being. So the question, is the Dharma too much? Ask yourself this question. Is the Dharma too much for who you really are? The peaceful allowing of everything that arises. Is the Dharma, the path, the way that you're walking? Through struggle, through hardship, through abundance, through relationships of love, through relationships of turmoil, all the different flavors of any moment. As you follow your Dharma through this life, encountering your karma, is it too much for the witness, for the peace of being, who you really are? Is it too much for who you really are? And you realize that it can seem as too much for the personal self. And that's present for you, perhaps. And there's the karma. If it's too much, then beautiful. That's an opportunity to say, okay, oh, because I'm so identified with the personal self, I'm suffering the too muchness. Maybe I'm here in this life to feel too much, to feel overwhelmed, so that I can transcend that with truth, with love, with grace. Maybe this is my opportunity to find more grace. And too much indicates resistance. Who's resisting? And you don't want to shame the egoic self that is resisting. You don't want to make it wrong. You just want to notice it. Go, oh yes, there's some work that I can do. Yes. So Dylan continues. He says, yes. Is the Dharma too much for me? Yeah. The space is so nice. Rarely time. Okay. Rarely time. So Dylan and all of us, when you do have the time, and you will come, let me preface this by saying, every moment, as you practice, as the essence of your being blossoms and awakens, and what is called the fragrance of your being, it's like a rose opening, is known with more reliability, more faith initially. And after a while, you don't even need faith. It just is. As that awakens and blossoms and shines brighter, then it's present even when you're at work or distracted or have a lot to do. The doing of life is held in a persistent space of being. So that comes with this practice. But currently, the feeling is when I'm in all the doing, I don't know self, I don't know truth, I don't know the peace. I'm stuck in the doing. And then I use my meditations or my walks or my times in the garden or whatever it is to stop and remember, return to some truth. Beautiful. Here's a little bit of a key. When you find this truth, Dylan, when you find a true piece of being, witnessing, even an anxious personal self, when you find it's like the sky noticing the weather, when you find the piece of being, noticing the weather pattern of Dylan, name that piece of being as self. This is key. Oh, there I am. Oh, this is not a passing experience. It's the essence of me that is actually always present. I simply get distracted by life, but that doesn't make the presence of my peace non-existent. It doesn't mean it goes away. So when you're in your meditation, when we are in our meditations, when we find that grace, that rested peace, instead of calling it an experience that happens when I meditate, we can say, oh, my meditation has once again revealed the flower, the truth of me that is always present. There I am. Oh, that's me. And when you do that on a regular basis, what you start to find is that then you're driving or you're at the post office or wherever, and you can take a moment and go, wait a minute, if that's truly me, then it's present right now. It's never not present. This is the beautiful thing. It's never not present. It's simply turning your attention towards it, stopping for a moment, and asking, what is aware of every single personal experience that is happening right now? Feeling, thought, judgment, belief, narrative, everything that is happening, what is aware of that? Everything that comes and goes, like weather, what is aware of that? The sky. The sky doesn't change. And the sky is at peace with whatever weather pattern comes through. The consciousness of your being, the truth of your being, the equanimity of grace that we all are, is always at peace. Noticing the human experience, allowing the human experience, not resisting the human experience. So when you talk about time, so little time, as the time you do have to reconnect with that truth, name it. Oh, that's me. And if that's me, it's always there. Fascinating. It's always there. It's a little trick you can play. Point your awareness right now to your left foot. Got it? Are you aware of your left foot? Can you feel it? Notice its presence? Did you just grow a left foot? No, it's always there. You simply pointed your attention to it. You reminded yourself of its presence, and there it is. So if the essential nature of your being is the peaceful awareness within which every experience comes and goes, arises and passes, is born and dies, appears and disappears, if the awareness of being is always present to notice, to witness, to know all of these experiences, what is the nature of that awareness? It's always at peace. And that is you. Thank you, Dylan. Beautiful. Then an inquiry that we use is, have you ever had a single thought that has been present every moment of your life? Every moment, every second. Have you ever had a single thought that has been present every second of your life? No. No. Every thought comes and goes, arises and passes. Some may be more dominant or persistent, but they're not there every second. Have you ever had a singular emotion that's been present every second of your life? Certainly not. Any singular sense of self, a stabilized sense of self that's been stable your whole life? No, I mean, heck, those change minute to minute sometimes. So all of these things come and go. But how have they been known? When they arise and are present, how are they known? They're known by a presence of awareness. You've never had a singular experience that has been outside of the presence of awareness. The one thing that doesn't change is your consciousness of being, the peaceful consciousness of being, the awareness. And if you attend to that, if you abide that, if you recognize that pulled out awareness as self, you can recognize and start to have the yes and experience of, yes, there is an anxiety arising within me, or a story or a narrative. And there is the awareness of it. The awareness is it. Let's say anxiousness is arising. Is the awareness anxious? No, the awareness is just the awareness of anxiousness. Oh, and look, here comes happiness. Oh, look, here comes sadness. Oh, look, here comes melancholy. And all of that is witnessed by the same unwavering peace of being. And I am that. So it's just a matter of we forget who we really are, and we get lost in the movie. We get lost in the mind's projections, assumptions, assessments, judgments, conditioning, programming, stories, narrative. We get so lost in all of that. We forget that all of that is playing out within a peaceful consciousness of being. Okay. What other questions, thoughts, reflections? And remember, if you're in the Oasis community, you can click that button there somewhere that says, I want to join in the conversation, and it'll bring you up on screen with me and we can have a dialogue. But this is freedom. To recognize true peace is not a state of mind. Because anything that's a state of mind is a state of an unstable mind. The mind is always going to be making things up, questioning things, pondering. Wait, am I really worthy? I mean, I think generally, but what if I screw up that bad? Oh, then, just it's constantly rewriting the story. So a peaceful state of mind is not true peace. It comes and goes within the peaceful consciousness of being. A peaceful state of mind comes and goes within a peaceful consciousness of being. It's just that the weather cleared up for a little while, but it's going to get cloudy again. So don't identify with the weather or the clarity. Identify with the sky, the unwavering presence of love, what Ram Dass called unconditional loving awareness. I am that. Truly, that is I. Okay, Gary. I tend to honor the 3D world's challenges more now. It allows the challenges to be met from a loving place. They all exist, but through this harmony, the 3D world becomes easier to navigate. Yes, that's the experience. That's the freedom of awakening. You say it allows challenges to be met from a loving place. True allowing is not an activity of mind. True allowing is the essence of consciousness. A wholeness of being that doesn't need anything to be different than it is in any moment. What if that's who you really are, right? So it allows challenges to be met from a loving place. The allowing then also allows for the human encounter. This may be a difficult moment, and it may turn out this way and it may turn out that way. And I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to set boundaries or say no or say yes or move toward that or move away from this. That's all part of the human experience. And the true peace of being says we're going to do our best, and whatever happens, will happen within the embrace of love and allowing and peace. And it's only the ego self that says, yeah, but what if it, no. We're not allowing. If it goes bad, if it goes south, my house burns down, if I lose this relationship, I'm not allowing that. That's the ego mind. Says, I'm going to fight for this. Well, then fight for it. Beautiful. Fight for what you want. Absolutely. But it's the non-attachment. to saying, and if it doesn't turn out the way the ego I wants it, then the ego self suffers. So it's beautiful, Gary. That's exactly right. The knowing of our truth, the resting as who we really are, allows for all of life's challenges to be met at the human level. That's freedom. And the ego says, yeah, but what if it doesn't turn out the way I want it to? And then you look and you go, oh, there's suffering. There's suffering. Turn down my light here. See if that works. There we go. All right. To know the self that is already transcendent of the personal self is freedom. Then it allows us to have an incredible human experience with all of its dynamics and not suffer it. Thank you, Gary, for that reflection. Gary's been following the path. Gary's been staying in his studies. Gary shows up to his life with inquiry, with conversation, with imagination, imagining, wait a minute. Who am I really? I can't be all these things that keep coming and going and changing. There has to be a beingness of me that is stable, consistent, unwavering, unchanging. What is that? It's called consciousness. A rested state, not even a state, a rested consciousness. The invitation here is to come to rest in the stillness until you come to recognize yourself as the stillness. Here's a beautiful mantra. I am the stillness in the background of all experience. Isn't that beautiful? Who I truly am is the rested stillness in the background of all experience. Yes, the experience is difficult, and I am the rested stillness of peace, noticing the difficulty, allowing it to play out, but not making it worse with resistance. A lot of life is difficult, challenging, hard. It's already hard and difficult. We add to that by then resisting it. It's a superpower. Deep inner peace is a superpower. To be at peace with the most challenging parts of life and allow them to be felt is a superpower. And it allows us to, Dylan's point, the Dharma, it allows us to follow our Dharma and encounter our karma so that we can learn from it and transcend and find our way back to the essential love that we are. Beautiful. Okay. Other questions, insights, comments, reflections? Where are you on your path? What questions do you have about the validity of this path, the functionality of awakening? One of the most powerful questions is always, what is aware of anything and everything that is happening within this body, mind, ego story, dream of self? What is aware of that? And what is the nature of that awareness? Hmm. If we ever find what feels like what is known as a peace of being, when our mind quiets enough, when we're able to stop the stories long enough to find what's behind the stories. And if we find even a moment of deep peace, it's important to remember that's who you are. And if it's who you are, then it's always there. And if you're struggling with something, and that struggle seems to make it impossible to find that peace that you are, the mind, the ego says, I need to attend to the struggle because it is interrupting the peace. So, in order to know the peace, the struggle needs to be alleviated. That's the ego's perspective. So, let me deal with this struggle. Let me deal with this life circumstance. Let me deal with my emotional, conditioned, programmed, reactive reaction. Let me attend to that. And once there's peace again, then I can find the peace within. But wouldn't finding the peace within, remembering the true peace that you already are, wouldn't finding that peace and remembering that peace and embodying that peace, wouldn't that be a tremendous benefit for attending to the struggle? If you're attending to a mental, emotional life struggle, doesn't it make sense that you would want to meet that struggle with an unwavering peace. So what you do is you tell the struggle, I'm going to put you aside for a moment, but don't worry, I'll be back. Let me go return to some truth. Let me find my real power again. And promise the struggle. You're not going to abandon it. You're not going to pretend it doesn't exist. You're not going to make it go away. You'll be back. But if you're going to deal with a difficult struggle, go find some power. Come to rest in your true power of loving awareness, of unconditional loving peace and awareness, the truth of your being, the highest truth of your being, the essential truth of your being. Come to rest in that, and then return to the struggle and see how much of the struggle is still even there. And whatever is there, love it. Allow it. It's like the loving parent meeting the struggling child. The first thing the child needs is just to be loved. To know that they're okay. Beyond all your struggles, you are already okay. Beyond all your struggles, you are already okay. So when your mind is telling you that you can't find peace because you've got too many worries, and once those worries are alleviated, once the storm clears, you can know peace again. That's just the ego saying, I don't trust peace, so I've got to attend to all of my own worries first. Tell your worries, you're not going to abandon them. You'll be back. But first, you're going to go find some true power. Because when you awaken your authentic peace, you awaken your authentic power. And then return to your worries, if you will, as peaceful, loving awareness. See what happens. Scary again. In today's world, do you think the collective is going through a significant change? Yes, because the collective is the one. And if all the individual expressions of the oneness, the fractals of the oneness, illuminate in their truth, then more individuals know their oneness. They accept their individuality as a human, but they know their oneness. So the collective is shifted. It's an interesting question. The collective is shifted, but is the oneness shifted? No, the oneness is never, no, the oneness is what it is. It doesn't change at all. But there's a collective human experience that is shifted. more, the world is going to be challenging us. The more and more the world's going to say, look, if you're hanging all of your sense of peace and grace and love upon the world behaving in particular ways, it's showing us that that is a failed strategy. And we better probably figure something else out. And that is to find the true, unwavering peace and power and love, which is the essence of what we already are. And when you look at this, is just a reflection on the dynamics of the collective human experience. Isn't it fascinating? We're not cave people anymore, right? We have evolved. Isn't it fascinating that with all these evolutions in technology, medicine, physics, astrophysics, sciences, with all these advances that are genuine advances, I've got electricity in my house. Cave people didn't have that. So with all these advances, shouldn't our lives be getting easier and less expensive? If we're getting so darn good at efficiencies and effectiveness and applying science and technologies and physics to our lives, shouldn't our lives be getting easier? Less expensive? And they're not. And what we're starting to see is that we're all operating within a collective system that is not attuned to oneness. It is attuned to the few versus the many. And we're being shown that very, 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 very starkly today. The greed and the division is keeping humanity from benefiting from all of our amazing intelligence and brilliance and capacities and imaginations and creativity. All of this should be making life easier for everybody, and it's not. So we're waking up to the recognition that there is a collective ego, which is very greedy, a collective illusion of separation, which, just like an ego, is trying to feed itself more and more and more and more and more. And it's forgetting the oneness of our being. And that, Gary, to your question, is, I think, where we're going as a collective. I think the collective awakening is ultimately going to result in a collective renaissance of unity and love and support. Because we won't see other. We're only going to recognize self in all of its forms. And we won't be operating from the fear that feeds greed. Yeah. So, We all have our human differences, personalities, DNA, body configurations, mind configurations, conditioning, programming. We have all these dynamics that make us all so different. Yay! Right? Beautiful. Fantastic. But there's one thing that we all share, and that is the consciousness out of which we are all born. The one consciousness of love that individuates into all of these expressions of itself. And if we can remember that oneness, then we can remember our okayness. We can remember our wholeness. So that if our egoic self is comparing its qualities with those of others, the oneness, the pure love of our being says it's all okay. There's no judgments. There's no narratives that we get so hooked into because of consumerism and societal norms. The collective narrative. That's just a big ego narrative. And it's just a narrative of programming and conditioning and stories, feeding on itself, feeding on itself, feeding on itself. And all of that is happening within the presence of an unwavering love called consciousness or awareness or God. And when we are disconnected from our divinity, our oneness, we will find ourselves hooked, swept away in the narrative of comparing and judging and assessing and fearing and doubting and seeking and clinging and resisting. All of that is happening within the peaceful awareness of being. That's what we're here to remember. Who are you really? That's it. Ali. Is this Ali or hold on? Yes, Ali. Hi, Ali. How do you deal with hurtful feelings and the memory of it? When someone hurt you emotionally, where do boundaries come in when it comes to allowing also about forgiveness? Please advise. Thank you. Yeah, Ali, thank you. It's such a good question. It's the kind of one of the central questions. How do you deal with it? Well, the question is, who are you? That's it. How does your ego self deal with it? With all manner of stories and wounding and programming and righteousness and fear. Got to get it right. Got to make it right. Got to prove and all these different conglomerates of conditioning and programming are going to deal with that differently. Some are going to be okay with it. Some are going to dismiss it. Some are going to feel the pain, but mitigate it with our addictions to not feel the pain. Some of us are going to just make all the others wrong. Some of us are going to be righteous. Some of us are going to go at war with others. Some of us are going to go at war with ourselves. These are all the egoic possibilities and responses to being hurt. What's aware of that? Who's hurt? If you want to do, and it's suggested to do some work around who's feeling so wounded. Are you, does your 5-year-old self need some healing? What healing needs to be applied here? How might I, as a human, more productively or healthfully attend to this pain, this hurt? It's the yes and, Ali. It's allowing yourself to feel the hurt and not be so identified as the hurt. The hurt is there. Is it all that is there? This is a good question. Yes, the hurt is there. There it is. I feel it. I feel it. And you know that it's some dynamic of your personal experience of the hurt is based on your conditioning and your programming and some wounding and some DNA, and that's all contributing to your human experience of the hurt. Is that all there is? What else is present? The ego will say nothing else is present. All there is the hurt. That's a lie. That's not true. What else is present? The self beyond the hurt, the love, the peace. Remembering that you can be at peace with your hurt so you can truly allow it to be present so that it can be loved. See, the issue is if it's your 5-year-old that's really feeling the hurt, your 5-year-old doesn't know about divine love. Your 5-year-old doesn't know that it too is pure love and cannot be diminished. So Ali, you own the course, the Beyond the Noise course, and you will come to a point, I think it's module 10, where you will learn more and more how to rest in your peace and then invite your younger, wounded, frightened, feeling small, feeling diminished parts of you, your younger images of self. You'll allow those to arise into the presence of love. So they then can know that love too. Because if your 5-year-old sense of self can be brought forward into awareness, and that awareness is love, then that 5-year-old finally gets to meet love and be loved. If we can sit in our grace, the awareness, the presence of true love, and then allow our hurt, scared, frightened younger self to arise into that awareness, then that younger self is arising, that frightened, small, wounded, petulant, hurt, defensive younger self can arise into the presence, into the awareness of unwavering love. And that younger self can go, oh, wait, I am that love. I am that love. When I was 5, I didn't know that love existed. I didn't know that I was that love. Oh, I am the unconditional awareness, presence of love. I've always been that. So the 5-year-old can realize, oh, I'm okay. I'm not just loved, I am love itself. So how do you deal with the hurtful feelings? You love them. That's all. That's it. You love them. And you invite the younger sense of self that is truly feeling those feelings, those fears, those doubts, those uncertainties, those stories, those narratives. Allow the hurt. Allow the 5-year-old, if we're calling it the 5-year-old today, allow that younger self to hurt and bring that hurt into the embrace of true love. So the 5-year-old can put it down, and say, oh, that was given to me. That was handed to me. That was put upon me. I took it on. I collected it as baggage because I didn't know the true self. I took it on as part of my identity. Unworthiness, fear of being rejected, fear of abandonment. I took that on. I didn't know any better. Oh, I can put it down now because it's just clouding the truth of my being. If true self is available within a meditation and a younger self can arise simultaneously, then here's true love and here's young wounded. Now they're both present in the same moment. So allow the wounding to be bathed in the love. So that's part of the course for you, Ali, because you own the course Beyond the Noise. And anybody can go get that course on my website. That's the power of awakening. We awaken as love, and then we apply that love back through all of the iterations of our story. And all of our narratives start to fall apart, because they're just activity of mind. And they're not true. So ultimately, Ali, to answer your question, how do you deal with hurtful feelings? As who I truly am. That's how you do it, as who you truly are. Beautiful. Thank you for your question, Ali. This is the value of satsang. None of us were taught who we really are. We were taught a story. We were told the story, and then we added on to the story ourselves. Nobody ever told us that we are love. That there's a spiritual nature of our being that exists beyond whatever our human experience is. We all just are trying to navigate and mitigate and control and manage a human experience without truth, without access to truth. And we wonder why we struggle. We wonder why it's difficult. We're all managing a individual and collective storyline that is, for the most part, quite devoid of truth. And we know that. We know that our parents, as loving and as best as they could, they were just trying to tell us how to be a better human. Perhaps, if they were trying to do a good job. Some of them were just really hurting us and harming us quite vociferously. But some of us, even in their best efforts, they're just trying to teach you how to be a better human. And mostly there's no conversation about, yes, and no matter where you are in your human journey, foibles and difficulties and inadequacies and struggles, and even with all of that, who are you really? That's never been part of the conversation. So we have that conversation now. Who are you really? And if it's who you really are, then it's who you've always been. And what a beautiful thing to allow to sit in some beautiful rested grace and bring forward some younger thoughts, feelings, images of yourself, and allow that younger self to bathe in the truth of who they really are. And that's available in the course. The Beyond the Noise course is teaching how to allow the truth of our being to heal the stories, the programming, the conditioning of our human experience. It takes persistence, it takes study, it takes practice, it takes patience to wake up, to wake up, to wake up, to wake up, and stay awake, and no longer be so groggy and keep falling asleep back into the old illusions of separation and personhood. The person is happening, but it's temporary, and it's just a temporary vehicle of experience, but it's not who you are. The person is happening, but it's happening so that your soulful self can evolve and grow and meet its karma so that it can learn about its wholeness. The personal experience is happening, but it's a temporary happening within a infinite and timeless consciousness of being, who you really are. You're not the person. You're not who you think you are. You're just not. And then Ali here says, on the subject of space, how much do you think it matters where you live as far as the path is concerned? Well, here's the conundrum. As an awakened being, it doesn't matter at all. Because anything, no matter where you live, if you're saying, oh, this makes it too difficult, there's too much noise, there's too much this, and it makes it too difficult, that is too difficult for the personal self, for your limited sense of self. If you are fully awakened as who you really are, it wouldn't matter at all. You are who you are, and you don't resist anything. I've told this story before, but when the Chinese invaded Tibet and they put a lot of the Tibetan monks in physical jail cells, they said, "We're putting you in prison." And the monks said, "No, you're not. You may put us in a physical cell, but you cannot take away our peace. You cannot take away our freedom. Because our freedom is just the allowing of everything. We know that to be our essence of being." But to answer your question more directly, Ali. Oh, no, is this Ali? Oh, no, this is Amanda. Thank you. See, glasses. Amanda, on the subject of space. Yeah. So as we're walking this path, awakening is who we really are, I think physical space makes a tremendous difference. If you download my online, I've got a free ebook, 10 Foundations of Peace and Freedom, or 10 Foundations of Full Potential Living. I've changed the title a few times, but it speaks about environment. And environment is important. It makes a difference. It does make it easier, perhaps, when we create a life that is reflective of beauty, when we create a life that is reflective of stillness, when we create a life that is reflective of spaciousness. It's going to have an impact. So we do what we can, right? If you've got a funky space and 6 kids and a lot of traffic noise, you probably want to get some noise canceling headphones, and probably want to create a little cubby space where you've got some candles and some incense or some, essential oil diffusers, to have an external sense of peace that is going to make it a little bit easier for the egoic self to drop into some inner peace. Ultimately, you could come to carry that true peace, awakened, blossomed, anywhere you go. Like, I can meditate pretty easily in any situation. Like, you could drop me in the middle of a full-on punk rock concert, and I'd be able to just be rested as peace. So that's ultimately, you can do that. But initially, as a dream of personal self, who has a lot of stories about the meaning of this and the meaning of that, and the righteousness of this and the wrongness of that, it's harder. I used to be so bothered by barking dogs. Here in Bali, there's a lot of barking dogs. There's a lot of roosters. There's a lot of construction. I live on the rice fields, and just two plots away, they're now building a new house. It's a beautiful thing to be able to, there it is. Okay. There's already the noise. Now, if I'm suffering the noise, now I'm suffering the noise. It didn't make the noise go away. So our external environments, our space, can make a difference, does make a difference. But as we progress, it makes less and less of a difference, because the peace that we're seeking is not determined by the external world. The peace that we are seeking is the essence of our being that already exists and is at peace with everything. But yeah, good question. You want to do what you can to create a space of beauty. Flowers. When I was living in Sedona, I had fresh flowers all the time in the house. I had my essential oil diffusers. I created beauty with artwork and colors and music. So do what you can. Create as nourishing a space as you can so that you can more easily find the nourishing truth within. Yeah. See, these are beautiful questions and inquiries. So, as a personal self, you're going to have all manner of emotional and mental dynamics arising and passing, coming and going. You don't need to get the entire inner personal experience, mental and emotional experience, to finally come to peace in order to know peace. Instead, come to know your true peace, independent of the conditions of your mental and emotional and environmental state. Come to know, it's called the direct path. Come to know your true, rested, unwavering, always present peace of being. And then bring that love and bring that peace and bring that compassion that isn't a mental compassion. It's not an efforted compassion. It's not a thing you do. It's what you are. So come to rest as what you truly are, rested stillness and peace. And bring that to whatever mental, emotional, environmental condition is currently in place or in play. This is freedom. This is your ultimate power. Inner peace. We call it inner peace. It's not really inner peace, but it's where we experience it. Inner peace. The peace of your being. To come to rest as that is a superpower. It allows you to meet all of life as love, as peace, as who you truly are. So thank you for spending this time with us. If you're on YouTube, there's a donation link in the description if you care to make a small contribution. Not at all mandatory or expected, just it's there. Those of you within the Oasis and those of you who own the Beyond the Noise course that is priced incredibly low, amazingly low for how much it can change a life. Know that there's the monthly coaching coming up. Check the Oasis site for when that is. And let's stay in these conversations of truth and illusion and illuminating the illusion, the darkness, the shadows of illusion, illuminating that more and more with the divine light of truth, of love, of peace. All right, blessings, my friends. Be well. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Amanda. And thank you, Dylan. And thank you, everybody, for being with us today.